Signs. Bryan Callen. This is the Bryan Callen Show. Welcome, everybody. Before we get started, I just want to remind people I'm going to be at the Comedy Works in Denver, March 15th, 16th, 17th, and I think 18th, actually.
Is that the new one or the old one?
That's the old one. That's one downtown. I can't wait. Joe's done that one, hasn't he, Brian?
Yeah, he's done both. Actually, I prefer the old one.
I've done both as well. I haven't done both. I've done the other one, the Improv, and now I'm going to do Comedy Works, and I'm looking forward to it. And then I'm going to be in Toronto at Yuck Yucks, March 21st to the 24th. I've been to Toronto once, shot a commercial, but I've never done comedy there. But I love doing comedy. For Canadians, they get it. So I'm excited about. We just laid down a podcast with Jeremy Piven.
That was awesome, right?
Wasn't that good? We had the video going, and that was a lot of fun. I got to get him to retweet it so people know about it. And the man who just walked into my studio right now is none other than the indomitable Stoney Curtis, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Stoney Curtis takes his shirt off. He's got a sleeveless shirt. And let me tell you who Stoney Curtis is. He is a huge porn director. Stoney, I had to get you on, man. I'm just glad we know each other through the comedy world, but Stoney's a comedy fan. But Stoney, how long have you been shooting adult film?
Since 1993.
1993, dude.
Going on my 19th year.
Unbelievable, 19th year. And you've made lots of money. And how did you get into the business of shooting adult film? That's what I want to know.
Oh, my God. It's a crazy story. Well, I used to live in a town called Mission Viejo. And down there was one porn star, megastar. Had I never lived there, I'd have never gotten into business. His name is Peter North. And basically, I kept seeing him in the town. I saw him in 91, and I approached him, and he denied who he was. I was like, dude, I love your movies, bro.
That's so creepy.
Like, he looked at me, he's like, I don't know what you mean. My name's so-and-so. I go, you're not Peter North? No, I'm not Peter North. I go, well, you look just like the fucking guy, right? So then the next year I saw him again, and I went over to him because I'm a big fan. I was a huge fan. I had like 300 movies. In fact, me and my ex, we broke up because of that.
Because you're a pervert, and she couldn't understand why you needed three.
Well, every woman thinks that she's going to, you may only have eyes for her, and that's true for a while, but let's face it. I mean, guys are going to look around at other women. Doesn't mean you're going to act on it, but there's nothing wrong with looking at other chicks. And the thoughts in your head belong to you.
Exactly.
And they should stay in your head.
Amen.
And people shouldn't give you shit about what you imagine.
That's the American way, brother.
Right? So that's the whole thing. And so basically, I ended up meeting this guy, Peter North. We ended up becoming friends. He finally admitted to me who he was. And I actually knew a guy that was a big weed grower back in Illinois. And I told him when I was back there one day, and I was trimming. It's been over 20 years. I think I could talk about it. He had a big marijuana plantation, and I was trimming for the guy. And the guy said to me, hey, man, I heard you know Peter North. Is that true? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And he goes, we should get in the porn business together. And I'm like, nah, dude. I don't want to fucking do that shit.
If drugs don't work out,
I was doing music videos. I care about my career. I don't want to hurt my reputation. And then so then like 6 months goes by, and then finally I said, yeah, fuck it, why not? Peter North knew I was like really into porn because Peter North's a cool guy, but he doesn't really collect porn. He doesn't really watch it.
I heard he dates conservative women and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I think once you've gone to that side for so long, you strive for girls that are not in it because it's the opposite of what you're so into.
Right.
And everybody always wants sometimes the opposite of what they are.
Sure.
I'm an outlaw. And you want to be with a girl who's not so crazy.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
Some guys are. So anyway, Peter North and I. He got me hooked up through World Modeling and Jim South and through another guy. And then basically I started making my first movies in like 93. And in fact, the guy sitting behind me is the guy that bought it for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if he wants his name heard, but...
Yeah, first movie was a big seller. Is that right? What was the first movie called?
The Secret of Her Success.
Okay, because, dude, you just gave me a gift here. I got 3 movies that you just recently did. And one is Your Mom Tossed My Salad.
Right.
Very nice. MILFs Can't Stop Tongue Fucking Assholes. Directed by Stoney Curtis. Right. And then 3 hours, 30 minutes of hardcore footage. And then we've got Fuck Me, Mom, and Me.
Right. Well, let's face it, guys.
Jesus, dude, you just don't go near the Bible Belt. They'll hang you. And then you got These moms ain't role models; they're hoe models. and then we got eight oral sex addict sluts who can't resist hard cocks. Big dick glory holes #2.
Right.
I guess there's a series. You're an outlaw, dude. I mean, you do stuff that most people see. The thing about porn that's interesting to me is that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry because everybody watches it. And when I say everybody, I'm talking about usually guys, but I know a lot of girls that watch it too.
Right.
We all have different tastes about what we like. And yet it is not mainstream. It never will be. People say it is, but it really isn't. I mean, you got porn stars that are showcased and they make lots of money. But at the end of the day, you are and will remain an outlaw. What you do is what people say, I don't want them near my kids or near my family, but I like it.
Yeah, it is kind of strange in that way.
Yeah.
And you'll find even guys in porn that way.
Sure.
They'll be like, hey, man, yeah, I'll go fuck that chick, but I don't want to hang out with any of these people. So it's like, I mean, it's kind of a weird thing in that way that, it's just
well, because doesn't it appeal to, it seems like in a lot of ways, porn appeals, and I'm speaking just for men now, it appeals to our base animal. Like just when you see like the lines and just all the stuff that it's just put on a platter for you.
Well, I think what it is a lot of guys never get to live out the fantasies of different situations of sex, and basically pornography allows them to live out those fantasies. And some guys want to stick their dick through a wall and see a girl sitting on the bathroom, or maybe you've seen a girl go into the changing room and you go, wow, I wonder what she looks like in there.
Yeah.
And then you sneak around the side and carve a little hole in the wall and stick your cock through there. Maybe she'll suck it. Put a 50 on there. Yeah.
If there's one thing to describe guys, that's basically like every single guy basically. Yeah, I can stick my dick in it.
And your fantasy is to see whether the girl will do it.
Right.
And the more conservative she looks and the nastier she is, the hotter it is.
Right.
Because you just don't expect it.
Well,
and it's the unexpected that gets your dick hard, which is why we do a lot of tease. Make you work for it, Make you work to see the pussy. Makes you work to see the little ass. Whether you wonder, is it a little pink dot, or is it a bicycle, a little a bicycle spoke asshole? Or has it got a piece of skin hanging out of it?
Dude, you're a connoisseur.
Yeah,
I mean, you get involved.
Yeah, is there a brown mole near that asshole? And you got to sit there and fucking think, oh no, that looks like a fucking shit that's stuck to her ass. God, I don't want that in my head when I'm going down and giving her tossed salad.
Right.
I mean, you want it nice and clean and pink and just a little dot.
Well, that's your thing, but some people want the opposite, right? So sexuality is a very complicated thing. But you're in the business of catering to essentially our sexual side, our private sexual side, which is interesting, and you've made a lot of money off it.
Yeah, we've done pretty well.
For me, the thing about porn is that what's a turnoff for me is when I watch a girl and she's faking.
Yeah.
And then there are a couple of women, and I'm thinking just of like, what's her name? Belladonna, for example, who really seems to kind of like actually enjoy what she's doing.
No, she's an animal. She's great. We shot her when she first started.
You did? It's amazing how some women seem to, it's like I don't know what to say about it, but that probably is what in some ways makes a superstar.
She wasn't always that way, though.
Okay.
We started Jenna Hayes out. Jenna Hayes did her very first scenes for my company for Lethal Hardcore. Actually, it was Celestial Productions. She was on the cover of Fast Times at Deep Crack High #4. And
Jesus.
Yeah,
we're all going to hell.
So, I mean, I have Celestial Productions, and I have a company, Lethal Hardcore. Lethal Hardcore has been around 8 years. Celestial was around from 98 to 2003. We went with the harder title because back in 2004, there was companies like Extreme coming out, and Max Hardcore was doing his thing, and we were just like, Celestial sounds too soft for what we do.
Right.
So we need to go a little bit harder. So I came up with Lethal Hardcore, and it worked. We changed our boxes. We went in another direction. But yeah, we some guys that were working for me at the time met Jenna in a bar in Anaheim, and that's actually how she ended up at our place. And
she was just in a bar?
She was in a bar. They met her, and
she was working, or what was she doing?
The guy was renting a room for me. We woke up, and she's like, "Dude, this chick's hot. She wants to do porn." And I was like, "Well, let me check her out."
Was he dating her, or did he take her out, or what?
No, dude. These two guys were tagging her.
Really?
Oh yeah. She was a natural sexual being.
Okay.
And that's what we're looking for. Yeah. I mean, I look for girls that are free sexually. I don't want a Republican porn star. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
I want a Democratic porn star. I want a libertarian.
Let me ask you this, because there's a case right now going on, and I think it's in Orange County. I'm not sure. But there's a woman she's teaching kids. I think it's high school or middle school. I'm not sure of the details. But it just was found out that she works as a porn star at night. And let's just say, for argument's sake, you have a child. And I'm talking about you. Say you had a child, and your child's going to school, and the teacher is teaching your child, and she does porn at night.
I'd have to meet her.
You'd have
because
to meet
I don't
her.
know. It depends on the girl.
So it does
If she looks like a
depend.
meth head, then maybe I have a problem with that. And if she's not articulate and doesn't know how to teach, but if she does her job well and she's intelligent, I know girls that are very capable of doing both. You know, there's a lot
do?
of oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Just because you're sexually free does not mean you're all screwed up.
Okay, that's what my question was,
Right.
because my question would have been, you know, and I don't want to be, and I know you work with these women, and I don't want to be, I don't want to generalize, but
Sure.
for most of us in the civilian world who see a porn star, a woman who has sex with, say, 3 guys at a time, 4 guys at a time, and I'm pretty open. I'm pretty close to a libertarian, man. I mean, I just believe
But
in
not
maximum
all girls
physical.
in porn do that, Brian.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. But what I do is I say, I wonder what her mental stability really is and what happened to her in her past that has her doing this now for money in front of a camera.
Well, let me get into that for a minute, if you
Yeah.
don't mind.
Yeah.
In my experience, almost 20 years in this business, back when I started, a lot of the girls had issues, which is why they turned to porn. And they were sexually free because maybe the uncle or the daddy or somebody touched them or did something or something like that. But in this day and age, it's not like that no more. You get girls that had absolutely, they swear up and down, no pedophile around them, nobody touched them, nobody bothered them. What happened is they're watching television and they see Jenna Jameson on E! Channel. They see her in the Howard Stern movie. They see these girls crossing over and becoming
Stars. Okay.
in their own right. I mean, Jenna's done very well. Tara Patrick's done pretty well.
Yeah.
These girls have carried this business into the next level, and it's made a lot of girls want to be like the next Jenna, if you will.
So the new
and they want to become like a legitimate star. Sasha Grey.
Yeah.
You're an actor.
Yeah.
A very fine actor, I must
Thank
say.
you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the Academy Awards, I mean, I don't,
What can I say?
They ignored you this year.
I'd like to
again.
thank Stoney Curtis for being my number one muse.
If you ever win one, you got to say my name when you're up there.
You know
Or
I
a
will,
t-shirt.
bro. You know I will. But you're right. So what you're saying is that the new generation of porn stars, a lot of them are simply ambitious, sexually free gals.
That's right. They come in with their iPads. They're all organized. And they're not like the girls from 1994, 95. They're not like that at all.
Jenna Hayes is one of the best businesswomen I've ever met. Like
Jenna
you
Hayes
talk
is
to her,
definitely-
and she's just, I mean, she does everything herself.
Is
She
that
sits
right?
there, and it's like a full-time job for
She
her.
quit performing from what I've read.
Yeah.
But my point is like she does business. She owns her own lines. She puts it out. She sells her cable. She does all that stuff. She travels. She strips and she does all that stuff.
You know,
and-
when you talk this way, it always reminds me. This sounds crazy. The irony is that is the American way. I mean, people. You got a girl who's you can just imagine. I travel a lot, and there are certain parts of this country where there's fucking nothing going on, and your options are you can work in a factory or you can work at Denny's as a waitress, and what's wild is that. Some women probably go, I'm not doing this. I'm going to fuck guys or whoever, and I'm going to make money, and I'm going to make a name for myself, and then I'm going to turn it into something. It's kind of like the stripper who saves money and starts her own business or goes to nursing school.
Right.
I mean, that's what's interesting about this country is that no matter how you start, a lot of times you can, if you keep your nose to the grindstone and you've got goals, and the other thing about it is that what I find interesting about this country is that you may have started as a porn star. 5 years into your life when you're actually doing really well and you're a mogul of some kind, you're a producer, you're making money, you have a business, people kind of forget that you were that. And you can kind of gain respectability, even mainstream.
And it is easier for men.
It is easier.
It is
for men.
easier for men.
Yeah.
There's still the double standard. It's easier for men than it is for women to make that because society judges women harder for doing it in their past or whatever. But I have met a lot of girls that have gone on to do real estate and do other positions, and they did very well for a while, and then the economy took a big crap, and then they came back to the business.
Really?
I can name several girls. Raylene was an actual very successful real estate agent. I like to consider her, a friend of mine, and she's done very well. And the only reason she came back was because who was selling houses in 07, 08?
Nobody.
It was kind of tough. So
Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of these girls do move on and do very well, and I'm proud of it. Sasha Grey. I don't really know her. I never shot her, but let's face it, she's done pretty damn well.
Yeah.
She's crossed over. She's been in Soderbergh movie. She's been on, what was it, Entourage?
Yeah.
She's done very well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, she's like the new crossover star.
Well, Jeremy Piven, we just had him on the podcast 2 days ago, and Jeremy said that about Sasha, because he did a movie with her as well that I saw. And he just said she's just a regular gal, man. She's a cool, she's a pro, and she's,
that's what I'm saying is
Thanks
that
for
everybody
dropping that
wants
name,
to turn
Bryan.
it into something more than what it is. Some people want to say, oh, they were bothered, and oh, what the hell, why are they all screwed up? No. You know what? There's a lot of women working in banks right now that are going to some swing bar tonight. What's tonight?
Well,
Thursday night.
That brings up, that's really the issue. Is
but they keep it quiet,
Yeah.
and people don't know. And the great thing, let me tell you something, bro. In the 90s, right? You were around, I was around.
Yeah.
How awesome was it when AOL came out?
Yeah.
You could instant message girls across town.
Yeah.
You do a search, female, 22 to 30, whatever,
Right.
and then you look at their profiles, and then you send them an IM. Hey, what's going on? You send your picture. You hook up. That to me is the highway to sluttiness for girls, and it keeps it quiet. See, if you live in a small town, and the girl's concerned about a reputation, right?
Yeah.
But if you go on the internet and then you go meet a guy, meet up with him, fuck him, come home,
Yeah.
it's your nasty little secret that no one knows about.
So you think a lot of women are doing that?
Oh, absolutely.
That's how I got laid when that came out.
Is that
right?
Right away, I used that for getting laid. Like
Wow,
around me
that's
within
awesome.
5
I never
miles.
did that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I did it at least 4 times.
Okay, let me ask you this.
awesome.
You bring up a point now, because the internet has changed porn in that I can go to RedTube, YouJizz, YouPorn, whatever, RedTube, all these. There's so many sites.
You should be
that
going to lethalhardcore.com.
I mean, I can go to lethalhardcore.com.
Get out your credit card.
I don't want to get my credit card. I'm always afraid of doing that. But the point is, but actually, the point is that I could go to Lethal Hardcore, and I'm sure it's an amazing website. And I know you make a lot of money with it, but there are other websites where I don't understand how you guys are able to make a living now.
That's what people ask me all the time.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what that's all about. Okay. Don't you get tired of the quality, the graininess
Yeah.
of those tube sites? They don't give it to you in HD.
Right.
If you want HD, they sell you the upgrade, and that's $29.95 a month, baby.
Is it? Okay.
Or whatever it is, you know.
right.
So if you want, and what about downloading? What about if you can't watch it right then and there? Let's say the wife walks in the room. Fuck, she's there. She caught me. You download it to your drive, whatever. You can download it to your phone, download it to your iPad, download it to your computer. And then later on, you can watch it in HD, uninterrupted. You could go to take a shit in a bathroom and get a Blumpkin or whatever you want to do.
Oh, I don't want a Blumpkin. I think
We do
that's
a
not my
line
thing.
called that,
What
but
the hell?
you know what
Why
I'm
do you got to bring
saying?
shit into it, for God's sake?
Well,
Bryan,
we
help me.
do a line called Blumpkin Blowjobs, by the way.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, it sounded like Dunkin' Donuts to me, but I don't know where
Yeah, but I
got
don't like
that.
mixing shit with my sex.
But you
That's
know what I'm
just
saying?
me.
You
Yeah.
can jack off anywhere to my stuff. If you're on a tube site, you have to have a Wi-Fi connection, and it's grainy. Because you know
Wait,
how
by
I
the
know
way,
this?
I got to stop you because that sentence is the greatest. You can jack off anywhere to my stuff. I've never heard that saying, but that's a rare man
It's,
who can actually
very,
say something like that.
Yeah. I'm selling.
So you're
all that.
selling options is what you're doing. You're
Well,
selling
what I'm
upgrades.
doing is I'm
and-
giving the person higher quality, get it anytime you want, and basically a consistent amount of good product. We always shoot the newest girls, the hottest new girls coming up that most people don't know about. Tomorrow's stars we shot yesterday.
Wow.
Jenna Hayes became a big star. We shot her when she started.
Right.
So we know
Brie Olson.
we know when a girl's coming up who's going to be the next one because the only reason I know how to do what I do is because I had 300 movies before I made one. And I've stayed the same way.
What do you
I
mean you
watch
had
porn
three?
every day.
You do, yeah.
I watch porn every day for my own leisure. No one pays me to do it. I do it on my own. I watch movies. I go to tube sites. I do all that shit.
Yeah.
Because I love porn. And what I do is I go to tube sites and I search, right? And when you search big tits, it's not always big tits. You get a lot of girls with small tits.
Those
And I'm
lying
like,
search engines.
what the fuck is with these search engines? When you go on my site and you search big tits, it is big tits. You don't have to sit there and siphon through all the garbage to get
Right.
what you need. And a lot of times, and because there's so many companies that have been knocked out of the box since 2007,
Right.
there was like 70 companies, and now there's like 22 shooting now.
Amazing.
See, the fans don't realize this. What's happening is because people stole so much content, everybody's fucked themselves, and you're getting less and less.
It's
and
like a
less
snake
product.
eating its own tail. That's what I thought. you
Yeah,
know?
it's like the music industry. If you don't want to support, like Van Halen came out with a CD, I went out and bought the CD. I mean, I do that shit for the artists.
Well,
that
I do
like.
too.
I still
never
do that.
Yeah,
I don't
do too.
just download it and steal it from the guys because they're
Never.
artists and they got to make their fucking money.
I never do that. That's and you bring up a point. I'm about to release a stand-up album, like that Showtime did, and it's the same thing. You could probably get plenty of that stuff. Like sometimes I'll be just doing stand-up, and people are recording it on their iPhones and stuff like that, and it's hard to stop that kind of stuff. But I think just because I know what it takes to kind of put all that work together, I would never steal music.
Well, you're in the arts.
I'm in the arts. Right. But it also brings up another point that I've noticed with porn stars is being a comic, stand-up comic, my life is at night. And that's why you meet a lot of strippers and porn stars, because their lives are at night. Like we're kind of vampires. But yes. The other issue is that we're also performers in one way or another. Like stand-up is in some weird ways almost pretty close to porn, in that you're getting up there and just basically naked, turning around, saying, "Look at me, I'm a jackass," or whatever. I mean, I'm just saying that's
you were going to help me with my act, remember?
That's it.
I was going to go to the Comedy Store and give it a shot.
Got to take my workshop, baby. There's a lot of hands-on and relaxation. But what I'm saying is that what I notice a lot of women do is a lot of strippers will do a couple of movies and then they'll tour strip clubs. They'll feature at strip clubs.
They get twice as much money.
Right, if they're adult film stars.
Sure. And
it's so similar to comedy in that sense. When you do a TV gig,
right.
It just brings your price up on the road.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
Right. I heard you go topless sometimes, though. Is that true?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Notice how my voice gets very, very low and deep. I would love to work for you sometime. If I could just wear a mask.
I heard you. Is he a prude? Does he go nude up on stage ever?
I have actually at the Comedy Store with Don Barris late at night. Yes, I do.
Dom, I know Dom.
Would you ever do
Don
one of
Barris,
those porns that like I've heard, like I know some guys that do porn that are comics and they're just like the extras in porn. Like I know this guy that did a Spider-Man porn where he was like about to rape this girl and then out of nowhere this guy comes down and
well here's the honest truth, and I'll get Stoney's point of view on this. One of the reasons that I wouldn't do that, or I wouldn't do it now, but I wouldn't do it in the past. I actually had some opportunities because I used to do jiu-jitsu with some porn directors and stuff, and they always said, "Dude, if you ever want to show up in my scene with a mask on, man, you're welcome to." And I'm a pervert, man. Listen, I'm no angel, but the reason I never did it wasn't so much that I had a problem with porn. I just didn't want to I didn't know who the girl was, and I didn't know if the girl was damaged. I didn't know if the girl was someone who was not psychologically sound. And then I would have felt like a bully or somebody who was contributing to her damage. And that was always my hesitation to it.
Well, my thing about pornography is that I make what I like, and that's pretty much what I do. I take some risks. We do a chunkers line. I like thick women, but I'm not. Maybe
you
not,
do like thick women.
There's probably out of the 550 movies I own, I would say probably 10 that I find hard to jack off to well. Most of it, which is a 99%.
That's so fucking funny.
I love it.
There are 10. Of the hundreds of movies, there are 10 that I find hard to jack off to.
Yeah, because
well.
Because I'm just being honest.
You're the greatest.
And I think the reason why we have a strong following is because I think the fans know that I'm honest and I do what I like for me. And I'm kind of selfish in that way, that I want to shoot stuff for me, and I hope other people like it. And it's worked out for almost 20 years. Obviously. Everything I've done, the angles I do, everything I do, the way I set the girl up, the way I have her wear, all that is what I think is hot. And the scenarios, the tossing of the salad. I think it's the ultimate compliment. You can tell a woman that you really think she's beautiful, but until you tongue her asshole deep, then you haven't really showed how beautiful she is. You could say she's beautiful. But I ain't going to lick your asshole.
I love it.
That's an insult. It's an insult to a girl if you don't lick her asshole. I'm sorry,
Amen.
it is.
Amen.
Once you get sex is like mathematics. There's basic, there's algebra, there's trigonometry, and there's calculus. And once you're in it for a long time, you just start getting more into the calculus of sex, the more complicated shit, the fetish. What about ass smothering? That's a big thing. I love that shit.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. Deep cracks. That's why I did that Fast Times at Deep Crack High.
Dude, well, this is so interesting because, first of all, I think this might be the greatest conversation I've ever had, at least the most colorful, or just listening to you, because you live in a world and you live in a subculture that most of us don't get this deep into it. And
Right.
and most people, you know, when you get married, you have a girlfriend. Oh, I'm a large complaint from what I've heard from people. You talk to people and stuff, and I've been in relationships where the sex gets boring, or you just like, you know, I know, well, I'll go down on you, you go down on me, then we'll have sex, whatever it is. And do you think that do you think that it's true that essentially you as you get deeper into sex, which you've gotten as deep as it gets in a lot of ways, your taste changes and you need more stimulus, more things to turn you on?
That's true.
Okay.
And it's because I go to work doing it every day. You know, I go to work and I see it all the time. So, yes, when I'm having sex privately, you definitely need more stimuli around. I mean,
But how do you juggle that with, how do you have a real relationship then with a civilian if that's the case?
Whoever that is, that she has to be cool about the fact that we're going to watch porn together. I mean,
so you
I'm
need
not a
porn.
hypocrite.
You need porn to have sex.
I like porn. I like to have
while
it
you're
around.
having sex.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a healthy thing. It doesn't mean I'm going to go run out and fuck that girl at all.
Right.
What it means is that sometimes, okay, if a girl is on top of you, picture you're laying in your bed. Girl's on top of you and cowgirl. Wouldn't you like to see what your cock looks like from the backside going in with that ass, and you spread the cheeks and you see the butthole? It turns you on, but you can't do it.
Now that you paint that picture, sure.
You can't do it unless you have a mirror. Yeah. And that's why I like to watch on TV, because then I see angles that I can't see while I'm fucking. See, because I've been filming for so long.
You videotape yourself sometimes having sex?
No, not really, not too much, you know. But I mean, because I don't really do that anymore. I used to do that in the '90s more, but not really much anymore.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. You know, you're around women and hypersexual women and men, and you shoot a lot of adult film. When most people are trying to make a relationship work, the biggest thing I find is that monogamy seems to be natural for women for the most part and very unnatural for men for the most part. And a lot of evolutionists will talk about why, and I think there's some science and maybe a lot of science to back up what I just said. I mean, I'm kind of being simplistic here, but
no, I think you're correct.
Yeah, and so when first of all, I would imagine when you're an actor in adult films, very hard to have a monogamous. I mean, I don't even know what that means. I mean, that can't even be in the vocabulary. Yeah. But have you developed a vocabulary or even a philosophy in how to talk about this thing called monogamy? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot here.
Well, you know, the thing is just, you know, some guys are more capable of it than others, and some girls are more capable of it than others. I mean, it just depends. And not to mention, it's easier for guys when they get older. Yeah. They don't have the testosterone. Right. They don't have the human growth hormone. They don't have all that shit going in their system that helps them get a hard on. And they're, you know, they get in their 40s and their 50s, and it's easier for guys. But I wouldn't even consider getting married. My advice, don't get married till you're 35 and up. Yeah. As a man. Yeah. Make sure you sow your wild oats. Get out there, do all the banging you can do. Because even when you get married, you're still going to want to bang other girls. Right. It never ends. It never, ever ends.
It's just that when you get married, your stakes
I
are
saw an
very
old man
high.
at a strip bar. He was fucking 82 years old. He was shaking and trembling looking at this girl's ass. He was like 82 years old. And I was thinking to myself, this shit's never going to end. Yeah. And so I was just thinking, you know, that it's just reality. And women shouldn't get upset about it. There's nothing to get upset about, because no woman can keep one man completely happy forever. It's impossible. Now, whether or not he ever acts on that, that's different. But in his mind, Brad Pitt and Angelina, everybody says, oh, she's the most beautiful woman in the world, whatever. Hey, maybe some people think that, whatever, but I can guarantee you, Brad's tossing off somewhere to other women.
It's the old saying. It's like, you show me the most beautiful woman in the world, I'll find it the guy's tired of fucking her.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
And they take it personally. But girls, listen, don't take it personal, because that's just the way men are. And don't blame us. Blame the maker.
Well, that'll never get through to women. But I hear what you're saying.
People tell me, dude, you're too honest. Don't be that honest. You can't be that honest.
I think we need an honest dialogue. I think we need an honest dialogue, and I'll give you an example. Every time I watch a TV show, I got a lot of friends on different TV shows, and God forbid, the man can be a drunk, he can be a gambler, he can be a criminal, he can be a thief, he can be even a murderer. As soon as that guy steps outside of his marriage or his girlfriend's the relationship with his girlfriend and sleeps with another woman, you lose half the audience, man. You're done, and you're not getting a show on. The only example I can think where that's an exception is The Sopranos, when in fact if the same character flaw, if you will, that causes this man to step out of his marriage, which is all a question of self-control. So if you gamble, if you drink, if you do things, we seem to forgive that lack of self-control.
Oh, yeah.
We never, as a society,
find humor in it.
We never, as a society, ever forgive even a man who steps outside his marriage or his girl or and kisses a girl. You will lose your female audience.
I think if you're talking about what you do as an actor, yes. But
No,
if
I'm
you're
talking
playing
about
guitar in Motley Crue. People are going, well, what the fuck do you expect?
Right, but I'm
So
saying
it depends on the job you're doing.
it depends on the job, but for the most part, I'm saying when you're watching a TV show and the character that you write, if you go to a network and say this character is going to be a great guy, but he cheats on his wife once in a while, that network is going to go, you're not on our network because guess what? Women are just not going to tune in. They're going to fucking hate your guts. If you want to make the guy the worst guy in the world, okay, we can do that, but he's not going to be the star of our TV show.
Wasn't Californication that way?
Yeah, but Californication, he's not married. I mean,
he was.
Yeah,
but he's always in and out.
And now he's kind of like he's a lovable poet who just can't control himself. But by the way, he's not married.
Right.
If that guy's married with kids, that is an unforgivable sin in this country.
Yeah.
It's so unforgivable that a politician like this guy Wiener can actually send pictures of his naked parts. Of his wiener. Wiener can send pictures of his wiener.
Kind of funny he had that last
to a
name.
co-ed he's never met, and he loses his job.
Yeah,
So we still live in a very puritanical society.
You know what's funny? I've never done that.
Yeah, you haven't?
I'm more conservative than Wiener.
Good man.
Because I've never sent my wiener on the internet.
There you go.
I'm too shy. I wouldn't even do that.
Right.
I mean, that's just stupid.
And yet Wiener couldn't be seen. Wiener couldn't be seen. A politician couldn't be seen hanging out with you or shaking your hand. No way.
Yeah.
It'd be a huge liability.
No, yeah.
Even though he watches it, probably.
That's true.
So,
I have
we
to
live
keep
in
Barack back through the back door.
Backdoor Barack.
We call him backdoor Barack.
Don't let anyone know he's hanging out with me.
Right.
But I've hung out with some people that people would be surprised. But I see, the thing about me is I know how to keep my mouth shut.
Right.
I've hung out with people. I could go to TMZ and I could tell stories. I could go to National Enquirer. But I've never done any of that because I'm not going to out my friends, people that I know that are celebrities. I just wouldn't do that. And I've seen some shit, and I just would never do that because that's just, you're a scumbag, and your word is everything in your world. Like Tony Montana says, all you've got is your balls and your word.
Yeah.
And I don't break them for no one. So
I've always been envious in some ways of women of the evening or just professionals who like high-end escort women who cater to some of the power elite. Because what's interesting is that so many men, whether they're politicians, captains of industry, athletes, those guys have a public persona. And those women always see the real guy. They hear all the secrets. They see it all. Right. It's a really interesting thing.
Well, did you want to know? I was mentioning something about the escorting part and the porn business type thing.
Yeah,
I was telling you about that earlier.
Love to hear about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say her name, but there's a particular girl that was in my office, and she was telling me that she's concerned about her reputation amongst porn agents and porn directors if she escorts. I went, you gotta be kidding me, right? And she goes, well, I don't want them to think that I do that kind of stuff, even though I wouldn't mind doing it. I'm just like, honey, you're a porn star. You accept money to have sex on film, which is cool. I'm all for it. I'm behind it. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm certainly not behind the idea of her accepting money. I think that a woman should do whatever the fuck she wants with her own body. That's what I think.
Wow.
I think if she wants to charge somebody to have sex, we all pay in a way. We've heard this conversation many times.
Yep.
We've heard, we all pay in a certain way. And if she wants to go fuck a guy and take $400, $500, or whatever it is she's going to charge, hey, it's her body. She could do what the hell she wants to do.
I agree 100%.
But yet she can go to a county in Vegas and it's okay.
I agree.
But in this county, it's not.
It's amazing to me that
really
the government gets in the way of two consenting adults who want to make a monetary exchange for her body.
It's absurd.
She gets to use for sex.
That's why they can't control it.
It's absurd.
It's all over the place on the net. We know it. We know the sites. There's places you can go to hook this up.
Of course.
And as soon as they shut one down, there's another one. So, the bottom line is you can't stop the demand. You know, it's there. Guys want to pay if they're willing to pay, and the girl's willing to accept the money. Just make sure you get a girl that's going to be fun, guys. That's all. Just make sure you get one that's not looking at the fucking clock or show up with a fucking.
A lot of guys, a lot of dudes,
sand timer.
A lot of dudes. I had a friend down in Florida who was like, I'm calling an escort service, and I go, all right, dude, good luck. I said, but you know, they're gonna show up at the door, and they're not gonna be what their pictures show. There's not gonna be. And he's like, no, they will. It's a
the worst is when they look at the clock constantly.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the clock or the watch, you know, and
Right,
they're thinking
right.
about where they need to be 2 hours from now.
Yeah,
that's the worst. That's the worst. That's why you got to find somebody that you know that's been with them and get a referral if you're going to go down that.
And a lot of those
Right.
websites
But
have that. You know,
I
like
just was
reviews.
really shocked that the girl had this like, I guess nothing shocks me anymore, but you know what I mean. I was upset that she was so upset about what people would think, and I just said, you shouldn't give a fuck what they think. You should do what you want to do, and if they have a problem with it, that's their problem.
But what's interesting about that is that, you know, in her world, in the authority
There's
figures
politics.
in her world, there's politics.
Yes, there is. There's
right?
politics in everything.
And so she needs you guys to actually look at her as a professional within the adult film industry. And if she's moonlighting, you know, someone told her that she's gonna lose respect, she's gonna lose a certain modicum of power or higher ability.
No,
or
it was a respect thing for her.
Yeah.
Like she was afraid what these people would think. And I was like, well, you can't control what everybody thinks because guess what? I learned back in like 3rd grade that there's always going to be kids in class that like you and kids in class that don't like you. And nothing's changed for me since. And so there's people that like what I do and they like me, and there's people that don't. What am I supposed to do about that?
I'll tell you a story.
Are we supposed to worry about that? No, you go through your life, you do the best you can, and if people like you for who you are, then they like you. If they don't, then, you know, that's their problem.
That's right.
Unless you're hearing it from friends and family, then maybe you should look at the mirror and take a look at yourself.
Well, sure.
You know, but I'm just talking about people that hardly know you.
Well, everybody is, you know, there's a guy I know who's a big real estate guy, and he told me how he has to deal with lawsuits all the time. And people sue him for everything. If you have a business in this country, man, and you have a lot of money, there are people that come out of the woodwork and they'll just sue you for everything. They'll slip on a balcony or they'll
frivolous,
whatever.
yeah.
And I said, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with frivolous lawsuits or people who are really coming after you for your whole livelihood? And he goes, oh, it's really easy. I said, what? He goes, I just hire a detective or someone to follow them and take pictures, and I always find dirt on them. He said, everybody is always fucking up at one point or another. He said, everybody who walks around thinking that they're, you know, and it was really interesting. He goes, I can get dirt on anybody. I just follow you around with a camera for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm going to find something, and you're not going to want somebody like your husband or your wife to know about. And it might be the fact that you smoke secretly in your car. It might be the fact that you know, whatever it might be.
Right.
But he says, and I just present that to them. And that was really interesting. I was like, well, that's pretty illegal, but I mean, I can understand how that would work.
Would you like to hear something, guys, that might surprise you?
Yes.
You're probably dealing with and talking to the only guy, I'll say right now safely, in the last 20 years in the history of pornography, I'm probably the only guy that has been in this business this long, and in the time I've been in the business, never been high.
What?
Never smoked a joint. Never drank a glass of beer, never drank a glass of wine, never sniffed blow, never did meth, nothing. Every anal, every DP, every fucking porno thing I've ever thought of, I've done completely sober, which means I know what I'm doing, which means I'm into what I'm doing. I'm not going to wake up out of a fucking state of a coma and go, God, I can't believe I spent 20 years doing this shit. I need to get off these drugs. You know, because that's what people do.
Yeah.
They get into drugs, then they get into porn, then they get off the drugs, and they go, you know, I saw God, now I'm going to quit. Oh. I know what I'm doing. I like what I do.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's that. And
There are a lot of drugs in porn.
I used to do drugs in the 80s.
Oh,
I smoked pot and drank and did all that, but I developed an irregular heart rate, and my doctor told me, hey, you want more problems? Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
You want less problems? Quit. I quit. Just like that. Cold turkey, baby.
How do you? I know
1992, I quit.
I know you probably have a drug-free policy with the girls you work with, right? I mean, or you try to?
Yes, I sure do.
Yes, I do.
For the record.
Yes, I do.
You
There's
can
a sign on the wall.
fuck all the time. You can fuck 4 guys, but you cannot smoke weed.
Yeah, well, no, I ain't gonna go there at all. So let me tell you about one of my new lines. We're talking about porno here, right?
Yep.
I got something here I think you're gonna enjoy.
All right.
You sick man over there.
Yes, I am.
One of my new lines is called female sex surrogates. And what that is, it's women who have had either an operation on their ovaries or their cervix, some sort of private parts in the woman's vagina, and she was told by the doctor she cannot have sex for 2 or 3 months as she heals. Well, she's married to a guy, very horny, and they have sex a lot. Maybe they're more of a swinging type cool couple, and she decides that she needs to bring in a working girl to keep him at home because she's afraid this guy's going to go out
You and your imagination.
and fuck somebody that's going to come home with a disease to give to her when she's done with the operation and can fuck.
Right.
And maybe he's going to run off with his secretary. So why not just bring in a girl? It's a good idea, ladies. Bring in a girl, pick her yourself, tell her how he likes his balls licked, whether you want to toss his salad, make sure he shaves, have her suck it. If you're going to suck it, you should get it all nice and wet.
Dude, it's so funny to listen to you talk this way because your eyes literally glaze over. Like you're talking about it
See,
like...
that is my drug.
I know. It's like you're talking about it like, you know, like, anyway, so we're going to do this shot, this movie that I'm doing in Thailand. It's going to be, it's literally, I heard directors, like mainstream directors talk about their movies
Well,
this way.
there's nothing worse than watching a bad blowjob. Am I right?
You are right.
You know that the head bobs and she's looking off to the camera. She's looking at the fucking ceiling and you're going, bitch, what are you looking at? You got a hard cock in front of your face. Get turned on and get it nice and wet.
Is that how you direct?
Use the fucking...
Come on. That's pretty forceful way to direct.
I'm just talking with us.
Okay.
Of course I wouldn't do that. I would
Right.
say, honey, look, you look great. What you got to do is you got to spit on it. You want to stroke it. And I give the girls direction on how to do it, and they do get better. I actually put on a video of another girl giving head, and then I took the girl back in the other room, and she gave tremendous head. Like, it was incredible. She was the fastest learner I'd ever seen in my life.
Do you say action and cut?
No.
You don't.
No. No.
You
We
just
say- we
roll camera?
Yeah, we just say, we just turn it off. You know, they know. A lot of times what we do is we shoot the stills first, and then when the sex comes, we just roll. Because that's what natural sex is.
Right.
You're not cutting and going, hold on, baby, let me get my light over here. Arch your back a bit. Let me stick my dick. Okay, let me put my leg up, you know. But anyway, so that's one of my new lines is female sex surrogates. It's selling very well.
And they can get it at the at lethalhardcore.com.
Well, they could get it there, but they can get it at any store, you know, any that sells adult video.
Not
If you want
Kmart,
to get it on
but
DVD.
yeah.
Or you could go to lethalhardcore.com and you can see it. Your Mom Tossed My Salad. Actually, a hot girl, Nikki Charm from the 80s. One of the original Vivid girls with Ginger Lynn came back recently.
Wow.
And she's on the cover of Your Mom Tossed My Salad 9. And so that's doing very well.
How old is she?
Oh, God, I don't know, 45 or something.
Okay.
But she looks good.
Yeah.
And then we do a line called Deep Tushy Massage.
Really?
Do you want to see this girl, bro?
Yeah.
She's one of the most beautiful girls to walk into business in the last
That's the
year.
other thing is you see some of these girls
Look
that
at
are
that.
so pretty, and you think to yourself,
That's a Jesse Rogers, guys.
Gee
Deep
whiz.
Tushy Massage.
she is beautiful, and that's
She
the thing.
is
You run into
absolutely
some of these girls, and you're
phenomenal.
like, you can make a lot of money just being a bartender at some hip club or just being a
18.
model.
She's
Oh,
18 years old.
All right.
She's got a Brazilian heritage. She's got the legs. She's got the booty. She's got
You know
small
you're
little natural
you're
titties.
the guy that every father would hang if you were near their daughter, right? I mean, I'm sure you know that, which is probably why you keep a.
But
a
you
low
know what's
profile.
funny about me?
But dads watch porn, so come on.
Here's the deal. If you do have somebody that's a relative that does want to do porn, I'm the absolute best guy to send them to because A, if their head's not into it right, I won't shoot them.
Right.
If they come to me and they tell me this bad past they had or they're doing it for the wrong reasons, I won't shoot them. For example, if I'm interviewing a girl and she says, I ask them, do you like black men? Would you like to have sex with black men? We call it interracial. Well, no, not really, but if you pay me another 100, I will. I'll absolutely not pay them to do it. I'll say, okay, no problem, and then secretly I'll just scratch them off the list. I want to film girls that are into whatever it is they're doing. Do you like anal? No, I don't like anal, but for $200 more, you can stick your dick in my ass. No, that's not a real anal. I'm old school. I learned from the old school guys. Seymour Butts, watch a lot of Buttman stuff. These are the guys I admired. John Leslie, Bruce Seven. They made pornography. It was more of a real experience that you were experiencing, but you were watching it on TV. And it's because people are trying to get girls to do what these guys are trying to get girls to do what it is they wanted to do and what they were comfortable doing. I don't like to take girls out of their comfort zone.
It goes back to what I was saying about when I watch porn. If the girl's into it, there's very few girls. If I believe the girl,
Right.
that's what turns me on. If I think she's performing,
Right.
I go, well, you know, that's kind of like a stripper who's dancing and talking to you, and you're like, that's
Yeah,
why I
yeah.
don't like strip clubs because
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
you know, I'm a $1 bill. I'm not going to go in, you know, I'm not
You
going
know,
to dance on
there's that, and then there's the fact that you know, we don't do. I don't smoke, drink, or do drugs.
Yeah.
And so if I see them doing that, I try to give them some advice. I go, look, I've been doing this 20 years. I took a girl, took her in the bathroom and said, look, I know you're on something here, but honey, listen, you know, you're going down the wrong path with this. This has nothing to do with pornography. You know, drugs is just not good. You got to get off the Xanax. You got to get your head together. You're acting a little loopy. You know what I mean?
Well, that always leads me to believe that they're numbing themselves. Because
if you want to hear a great story, my friend, I got a good story.
Hit me with
We
it.
shot this girl named Sugar Cane. This is like 2002, right? I rent this house from these two gay guys, right? And they were cool dudes. They rent me the house. I go in this nice fucking house in Woodland Hills. I'm shooting a movie. I go in there with a guy named John West. John West is like a big muscle-bound guy, right? I'm not. I'm like 155 pounds. I'm not a big muscle guy. And so we go in there. We're shooting the scene. Sugar keeps going in the bathroom. I'm going, what the fuck is she doing in the bathroom? Well, I find out later she had a bottle of vodka and she was doing something, right, in the bathroom. Well, the bottle of vodka was just about gone near the middle of the scene. Oh, she is literally doing the scene just about fucking our eyes shut. And so we're like, dude, we're going to have to cut this scene short and do the pop and end this thing. So we go ahead. I had my production manager holding her up from the back just to keep her upright. And then John does the pop on the face, and she literally fell straight to the side and passed out.
Jesus Christ.
Passed the fuck out.
Yeah, that's where
and that was scary because I was totally unaware because, like I said, I'm sober. I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
And so being sober, I don't know the signs sometimes because I'm not hip to
you're
it.
not
I can't
savvy,
tell a
not
druggie
drug and alcohol
sometimes
savvy,
because I don't know what to look for.
Right.
Because everybody hides it from me because they know I'm so sober. And so this chick passes out. I couldn't lift her. She's fucking weighs as much as me or more. She was a thick girl, right?
Wow.
And so John West he grabs her and we roll her up like in a blanket. And we're carrying her out of the house and we throw her in the back seat of the Mercedes and the guys that are renting me the house going, what do they do? Did they whack this chick? I felt like Joe Pesci from Goodfellas. You know what I mean? Yeah, where's the fucking lime? You bring the lime, I'm going to dig a hole. You're going to dig the hole this time.
Oh, no.
And so I'm serious. We had to carry this chick out. We brought her to my other house that I had in Woodland Hills. I had to pull into the garage. I couldn't even, I can't pull up in the driveway and the neighbors see me carrying a girl into the house.
Yeah, what looks like a dead
It's
body.
kind of fucking scary because she was dead weight, bro.
Jesus.
She was out from like 4 o'clock till 1 in the morning.
Oh, no.
Right?
Wow.
So I left a note. I left her check on the couch and I said, please come talk to me when you wake up, whatever. I went upstairs. I fell asleep. And when I woke up, she was gone. And I never heard from her, never seen her again. She quit the business. I think she knew she had a fucking problem.
Yeah, maybe that was the rock bottom for her. Where
but that was crazy having to carry somebody out of the set. I mean, that was probably the only time that's ever happened.
I was telling me the story. I'm thinking to myself, what are the laws? I mean, where can you shoot pornography? Can you shoot it anywhere in the country as long as you have a private house or?
I've told California and Massachusetts, but it's really. That's a really gray area, what you just said. I mean, Los Angeles is a lot more shooter friendly. Once you leave LA County, it gets tense.
It does.
Everywhere.
Why does Los
Orange
Angeles
County,
tolerate
Riverside.
it? Because they make a lot of revenue, tax
I
revenue?
think
off it?
it's money motivated partially, but it's also, I think, because of the fact it's been here for so long that they've just accepted it. I think back in 89, they made it legal to shoot.
Oh, they did?
And before that, it was illegal to shoot.
It was?
People had to meet at like a restaurant and get in a van and then go to another place and then make sure they weren't being followed.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And how did you make money off it that way?
I wasn't in it then.
Okay.
I didn't get it till the 90s.
That's why a lot of people that were in it back then were probably involved in other criminal activity. I mean,
next time we come for an interview, you can talk to my friend and he'll tell you. He's been in it for 30-something years and he'll tell you all about the old days, about what they had to do and all that kind of stuff. But he knew all the legends. He knew John Holmes.
well, you can come in, man, and we'll bring him in. Tell me your name
I
again.
don't know if he wants to be interviewed or he wants to say his name.
All right.
Yeah, he's
still
got a
got a
cold.
cold.
I don't
All
want
right,
to catch
we'll
a
What do you think
cold.
about the recent condom law that just passed?
What do I think about it? I think you can pass any law you want, but until you can actually
enforce it.
It's just like anything else. Let's pick a law that says that. Let's make a law today, Bryan, that says you can't pick your nose in public.
Right.
And let's see how many cops can really enforce people to stop.
That's my problem with politicians. That's a politician saying, hey, let's pass a law. I want to protect you guys against yourself. And what they don't realize, and correct me if I'm wrong, the adult industry polices itself so well against against AIDS and different kinds of diseases. You guys are tested. I mean, your actors are tested every time they make a movie, right?
Well, would you like a news flash?
Yeah.
Let me give you a news flash to the people that aren't educated on this subject. First of all, every girl since I've been in the industry that's ever come down with HIV has always gotten it from somebody, anal sex.
Okay.
And generally anal cream pie. There is not one girl that you can find in the history of the adult business that has gotten HIV on a set vaginally.
Wow.
It is transferred anally. So if the girl does anal with a particular guy, she's at more risk. I mean, that is the risk.
Right.
You remove the anal, you remove the risk.
Wow.
There will be no more HIV. What this guy is complaining about is that there's too much chlamydia and gonorrhea being transmitted, and it's more so than in the general population.
Which is not true.
And there's no way to prove that.
That's right.
It's absolutely absurd.
That's a politician looking to pass a law that he can run on.
Yeah, and just basically, some companies are okay with it that do the condom stuff, but a lot of companies are not going to be okay with it. And I think people that are smaller.
Well, what about the viewers? The viewer, I don't want to see porn.
Viewers are not okay with it.
I don't like porn with condoms.
Yeah. The only guys that like that are guys that are trying to make their wives happy.
It's like when these states have strippers. There's a 4-foot law where they have to be 4 feet away. Who the fuck
I thought you mean the girls
guys?
have to be 4 foot tall.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
Those are good. No, but
is that where you rest your beer on her head?
That's exactly right. If they're dwarves. But like who the fuck are these politicians that come in and tell me like I can't pay a girl to dance on me if I want? She's got to be 4 feet away. You got to rule her. That to me is un-American.
Do you know what I think it is? I've
Jealousy?
been thinking about this for 20 years, like every other day, right? I think it's their wives. I think it's politicians' wives. Now, let's picture, Brian. You and I are politicians. You're a senator of Delaware. I'm a senator of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And basically, we have to go home to our wives.
Uh-huh.
They want to pass an ordinance that's going to allow pornography or prostitution. Let's say we're going to make prostitution legal in Delaware and Massachusetts. You and I are senators there. Mm-hmm. The ballot comes through there, and we have to vote on it. You have to go home. If you vote for it, you got to go home. And now you got to deal with your fucking wife.
That's
and
true.
she's going to sit there and go, oh, I suppose you want hookers. I ain't good enough for you, huh? How could you embarrass me by voting yes on prostitution? There's your reason. There is your reason. If it was all men running shit and truly men were really in control in this country,
Right.
it would be legal everywhere.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Because if it was up to guys,
Yeah.
prostitution's legal, baby.
Yeah, it is.
Because we're the customers.
Yeah, that's right.
But the bottom line is, they have to live these two lives. Look at all these politicians.
Well, dude, it's like as I get older,
guy
I
in New
see
Jersey, whatever.
every man I talk. So many men I talk to, they're married, they have these respectable careers. When you get them alone and you start talking to them, you never lose the animal inside you. Man.
No.
You never lose that.
Well,
that,
the first thing you are as a man, I always say this to my girl. I always say, look, yeah, that guy you say is a good family man. He's a doctor, and he seems such a good family man. Look at the picture of the wife and the baby. He's a man first.
That's right.
He's a man first, then he's a doctor.
That's right.
He's a man first, then he's an astronaut, then he's a lawyer.
Well,
then
I know a
whatever.
therapist. I know a psychologist who says that one of the things he runs into with relationships with men and women when they get married or they're dating is that women are attracted from an evolutionary standpoint. They're attracted to the alpha male. A lot of times, they want a warrior. They want a guy who's the hunter and the fighter and can protect them and stuff. And so aggression is something that a lot of women find very attractive in men. But then they get into a relationship and they have kids with this man. They don't want that aggression turned toward them. They want that aggression turned to continue to turn outward. And then when he comes home, they want a docile, gentle man. But there's also
Careful what you want.
Right. Well, but first of all, men can't. It's very hard to compartmentalize that. What makes a lot of money, honey, and pays the bills is my aggression, my ambition, and sometimes I'm irritable at home. Sometimes I'm going to yell.
And you're not going to be there when they want you all the
time.
time.
And sometimes I'm not. Exactly. I'm not going to be
for you,
there
you're
all
on
the
the
time.
road.
Right. I'm not going to talk to you about what you want to talk about because it's not interesting to me because I'm thinking about something else. And those are the issues. And then what they find is a lot of women will and I'm just generalizing, but a lot of women tend then to win that fight. So they'll get a man to sort of, they'll mold a man to what they want. And then what happens? They lose respect for him.
Right.
They lose respect for
Well,
him.
as soon as they break him down,
When they break the horse, they
Right.
lose respect for the horse.
That's right.
And that's the dichotomy that women
difficult.
struggle with. It's a difficult thing that they struggle with within
very
their own
difficult.
nature and what they think they want versus what they really want. And men have very similar things, by the way. But that's what's interesting about porn for me is that look, if you give a guy an outlet, if you give a guy really good porn to jerk off to, he's, in my opinion, a lot less likely to cheat on you than if he has no outlet and he's got to go off and
guy
find a
has
hooker.
no outlet. He's definitely thinking about it.
That's
like
right.
Crazy. And he's gonna definitely break away a lot more.
So in a way,
And
you're
that's right.
saving marriages with your movies.
I
don't you?
believe I do. As absurd as that sounds, I believe I do.
Do you
Plus, I
believe
get
in-
letters from quadriplegics and people who are stuck in beds and they don't have much of a social life, and they tell me that they love watching the movies because it gives them. They feel like they're part of something, like they have something to look forward to. Like, because picture if you're sick and you're stuck somewhere and you can't fuck girls, or let's just picture that you're 55 and you got a beard and a gut, and you've been married 25 years, you don't know. You've seen Hall Pass, right?
Sure.
Those guys get thrown out.
Yep.
Their wives leave them, and they get to stay home, and they still can't get pussy because they're domesticated cats. They don't know how to survive in the wild no more.
That's great.
Now,
that's a great way of putting it.
could you
dude.
imagine?
Wow, fucking modern men are domesticated cats.
That's right. That's right. Your
Eunuchs.
claws have been ripped out of your fucking fingers, and your teeth, and you have no longer way to. You can't hunt no more.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any confidence left because you've lost some of your looks. Let's be honest.
Yep.
You're doing the comb over.
Yep.
You got a beard.
Yep.
And women just don't find you attractive like you used to. So what do? You still feel like you want to have sex, but there's not a lot of candidates.
Right.
So porn helps these guys get through the day, baby. The long day, and they go home at night.
Something to look forward
Shit,
to.
it gets me through the day. I mean, I'm a guy in porn, so
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, when I go on vacation, I Jones.
You are a true.
I miss my
addict.
job.
You're an addict / connoisseur,
How many
man.
guys miss their job when they go on a 2-week vacation?
Dude, you're amazing.
Can't wait to get home and go to work.
Where do you vacation? Where's a guy like you go on vacation?
Well, Cabo. I mean, places like that.
What do you like to do in your spare
Hawaii,
time, man?
Cabo.
You have hobbies?
Jerk off. No. Well, I had something I was going to tell you because it was in my thought. I'm sorry. It popped into my head. And this is something I don't know if you guys are aware of this. I get a lot of girls. This is my theory, too. I have my own theories on a lot of shit. A lot of girls, they get into pornography, not just for the money, not just to be famous. Do you know why they get into it?
The attention?
The attention they receive from the individual man that they taking their clothes off in front of. Picture you're a very good-looking woman right now. You're 25 years old. You got C-cup tits, natural. You got a curve in your back, a nice round ass, pretty girl. And you're taking your clothes off around the house to change, and the guy's watching the Laker game. And he's going, honey, could you move out of the way? I want to see the shot. Oh, yeah, Kobe made it. Oh, cool. And you're on the phone with your friend, and then you got this hot, naked chick walking around right in front of you. She picks up on it. And what happens is she doesn't feel desirable no more. And when a woman doesn't feel desirable no more, they need that. They need it
I'd
badly.
say the same thing for men.
And
men like to
we
be
need
admired.
it too, but I
Yeah.
think women need it way more. I
Okay.
think women need more attention, right, guys?
I totally agree.
Okay, we don't need as much
Right.
because we're conditioned that we have to go hunt and get
Right,
what we want.
right.
They're used to having guys pick up on that. When their own man seems no longer interested in their looks, then they have this temptation sometimes to see what another man would do if they took their clothes off.
Wow.
And
I
then
never thought of that.
And then here's what it is. It becomes like heroin. Once they take their clothes off one time and they make one movie, what happens is that guy's eyes light up and the director's eyes light up, and everybody's like, wow, she's fucking hot. Oh, my God, look at that pussy. It's got the camel toe. Oh, my God, I love it. Whatever it is, and all of a sudden she starts going, I like the reaction I got here.
Yeah.
I feel good about myself now.
Right.
And then they go to the next set, and then that guy gets excited. And so now all of a sudden you become addicted to that excitement level that you bring out in the man in front of you. Because the guy at home acts like you're no big deal.
That's
no
so
more.
interesting.
And that,
They're kind of like the queens. They walk in and all of a sudden they're a queen of their own kind of roost here.
I think a lot of girls do pornography for that reason. Not just the money and the fame.
That makes so much
I
sense.
think they justify the need to feel sexy from the various men. because of the fact they say, well, I do it for the money. I do it for the money. Yeah, sure, honey. I seen you fucking come 3-4 times. I was counting. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were digging it too. And then I've had girls tell me, oh, I don't really like black guys. And they're fucking, they're screaming. Their eyes are rolling in the back of their head. They look like The Exorcist. And you're going, yeah, okay.
Oh, here's a question. I got 2 questions. One is, do black guys have bigger dicks than white guys usually?
I've seen black guys with smaller dicks than white guys, plenty of it. So
all right.
I think but I've seen black guys with dicks that I've never seen on a white man. Yes.
All right.
It's true.
So we got 2 answers. I like it.
I personally shot a guy named Mandingo. If he's listening, what's
I know
up,
him.
my friend?
I know he is.
You know Mandingo? I think once Mandingo dies, if he ever does, which we all will, we'll all move up in one place because that guy has got the biggest dick
I've never seen a dick like that in my life.
It is really.
It'd be more at home on a
insane.
mule than a human being.
And the reason it looks so big is because it's so straight.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that are hooked and curved, it doesn't look as big.
Right.
And
it's all geometry.
I freak out watching that guy have sex. I do, because I cannot believe that some of these little girls can take it.
What does that say about us?
It's
Jesus.
amazing.
I got to walk around with my 10-inch stub.
Well,
but
no, I got a trick
detail.
for you.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. You want to get big?
Yeah.
Here's what you do. Guys out there with small dicks, here's what you do.
Date a midget?
You put a girl, no, what you do is you put her in doggy, you put her head down on the floor, you spread her legs, and what you do is you take her cheeks and you pull her cheeks apart, okay? And then you put a thumb on the top of her asshole. Not in her asshole. You could if you want to, and it's like a tight meter. What you do is you just meter how tight you want it.
Oh,
the
I
harder
see.
you push down, the smaller the hole gets, and now you're big again.
Dude, how about these sexual tricks
Wow,
from
that's
Stoney
awesome.
Curtis, ladies and gentlemen? Sexual tricks on how to make your dick bigger from Stoney Curtis. One last question before we wrap it up. I know you got to go. What is a female adult film star make a scene or a movie versus a male adult star? What do you usually pay them?
Well, rates are starting to come down a bit because there are less people shooting. So I would say the average is probably $800 to $900 for boy girl, $1,000 to $1,200 for anal for a girl, and I would say for the guys, it's kind of all over the place. There's guys working for $250, $300, and then there's guys out there that want $700, $800, and I'm like,
Nah.
there's only one guy worth more, and that's really Mandingo. Because he's got a huge crowd. And Rocco. But Rocco doesn't work for anybody.
Rocky Siffredi?
Rocco Siffredi.
He's still doing it?
Yeah, he's the fucking master, bro.
He's the master, isn't
Yes, I think so.
he? Where is he, in L.A.?
No, he's in Italy, and he's in Europe shooting. But
Whatever happened to Nacho? Remember that guy, Nacho?
Nacho, he's still around.
He was out here. He was shooting recently.
Yeah.
But I think Rocco is one of the best of all time, simply because of the fact that his passion level. And the thing about sex is he's creative sexually.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen him walk into a hallway, and two chicks are standing there, right? And he just pulls over the skirt. He starts making out with them. He just pulls over the panties, pulls his cock out of his fucking pants, and just starts fucking them and standing
He's a
in the
sexual
hallway.
artist. He's a sexual artist.
He's a sexual
20
artist.
years ago, I saw
Yes,
John.
he's
The reason I know
amazing.
Rocco Siffredi is 20 years ago, I saw him in a porn directed by John Leslie.
Yes.
I think it was called Cat Women or Cat People, and
Right.
it was the hottest thing I had ever seen.
Yeah.
I was like 21. I don't know.
John Leslie's
it
one
was
of my favorites.
The hottest shit I'd ever seen in my life. I was like, this guy John Leslie and these girls were so hot. And then here's Rocco Siffredi, this stud Italian dude, hung like a horse. It was the best shit I'd ever seen in my life, man. I
Well,
was like, that's porn.
Here's something that's interesting. Something very interesting. People in society will tell you that thin girls are the most desired girls. They're on the cover of magazines. All the celebrities want to be thin. There's an obsession with thin. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Who is the most successful individual pornographer in the last 20 years?
The most successful?
Individual pornographer.
It might be. I'm thinking about the guy who owned Penthouse magazine.
No, the most pornographic videos.
The director or the most
Director.
I would imagine it's probably John Leslie, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Buttman.
Oh, Seymour Butts.
John? No.
I've
no.
met
Seymour
him.
Butts is different.
No.
John Staliano.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Buttman. Basically,
John
Buttman shoots girls.
Staliano.
Buttman shoots girls. He's one of my favorites of all time. I absolutely love John's work, and he knows it. And basically, I mean, he shoots girls that are thick. Not like chunk or huge
Yeah.
thick, but like thick,
athletic,
Luscious.
like Kim Kardashian.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Like Kim
That's
Kardashian.
I think those women are just
Curvy.
That's so hot to me.
But see, they got a round ass. But see, what had happens is when he made the analysis, when they bend over, you still have to pull open the cheeks to see the asshole. You don't, when they bend over, how it doesn't just open up like an alleyway.
Yeah.
And it's all flat and the asshole's there. And there's like nothing to it. These girls, they bend over and there's still actual meat and cheeks and you have to pull them apart.
I call it a balloon knot.
It's beautiful. It's amazing. This guy is the most successful. What does that tell you? That tells you there's a lot of fucking guys out there that like big, thick girls.
I
with
always
big
say
ass.
that. I always say that men, the Paris Hilton made so much money and she's a waif. Most men don't find that attractive.
No.
You see models. I see these models that make all this money. I'm sorry, but most of the men in the modeling industry are gay, and they're first in the designers and the creative minds in the fashion industry, primarily if they're men, are a lot of times gay men.
Yes.
And what they're more interested in is finding a clothes hanger where their clothes look good and hang on.
I tell people that all
those
the
girls
time.
don't turn me on at all. I don't like. I always make this joke in my stand-up. I go, trying to have sex with a girl as skinny as Paris Hilton is like trying to take a nap in a wooden chair. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You get all these right angles. You're getting Charlie horses. For me, it's like there's nothing like curves. I got no problem with curve. That evolution from an
70s.
evolutionary standpoint, we all like that. Most guys
70s.
I know like thick, strong legs, big asses. And the first thing Hollywood women could do when actresses come out here is they starve themselves.
Right.
I'm gonna squeeze some lemon in my mouth and eat an almond for lunch, and then maybe I'll just waste away till I'm just nothing but cartilage.
Oh, no
Does
doubt.
nothing for me, man.
No.
It's like, come on.
Well, you know what it is?
That's what's sick about our culture.
Let me tell you, here's what I do. I make porn for the blind man. Basically, it's hot enough to make a blind man come. And a woman should be hot enough to make a blind man come.
That is a great way to end this podcast.
If you fucking went blind and you couldn't see the chick, you would not want to fuck Paris Hilton. You'd hold her, you'd feel all those bones, and you'd be turned off. But if Kim Kardashian walked in and you felt those tits and you felt that soft, round ass, you'd be like, ooh, now this is a woman. And then you'd run. And I love when you look at a woman and you see the shape and the hips. When you look at her, you know she ain't no tranny.
Right.
Trannies don't look like that.
That's right.
That is a real woman that has the hips.
That's
and
right.
That's the thing I tell the girls. Don't be sad that you have hips. Be proud that you have hips. J-Lo, Kim Kardashian, all those kind of girls with those hips. It's just, I go nuts when I see
Amen,
hips.
brother, because that's a real woman.
That's
I'm
a
right
real
with
woman.
you.
As
I talk to you,
and
and
a
I know
camel toe's nice too.
a lot of people say that what's interesting about you, Stoney, is that I talk to you about porn. A lot of people say, well, pornography is misogynistic and all that. You actually really love women. You
Yes,
do.
of course.
And when I hear you, you always talk about it in such a positive
praise 'em.
light. Will you come back and can we do number 2? Because
Sure.
I love this shit. This has been fascinating to me, man.
I
Getting
praise
getting
them. I
your
put them on a
take on it.
pedestal.
Yeah.
We don't try to degrade them. I don't ever shoot a girl that does anything she doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
And you can't degrade somebody that does something that they want to do.
Right. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Stoney Curtis.
All right.
And you've been listening to the Bryan Callen Show. And just one more reminder, I will be at Denver Comedy Works. God, that's starting this Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So come on out, man. March 15th, 16th, 17th. And then I'll be at Yuck Yucks in Toronto the following week. So I look forward to seeing you guys. Stoney Curtis, thank you for making this a most memorable podcast on the Bryan Callen Show. And we'll talk at you later.